To put it simply, this docuseries can be summed up in 3 words: Blackness, belonging, and connection. In the summer of 2022, when the world was still recovering from COVID-19, we gathered at the historic Dunbar Pavilion in Tucson, Arizona, and created a space with the intention of bringing Black strangers together to recover and restore and to reflect through intergenerational conversations. Here are their stories.
Andrea, tell us about yourself.
My name is Dria. I was born and raised in the city inside the city, DC. Last summer, I got a job offer from Raytheon to move here as an engineer. So I've been here ever since.
Hi, my name is Connie, and I used to live in Palmdale, California. And my husband, he was working with Hughes Aircraft, and Hughes relocated us here to Tucson back in '94. And I've been here since, and I love Tucson. So how does your creativity express itself?
I recently discovered that I paint. It started off when I first got here because everybody kept saying Tucson is a place that's, full of, the arts and everything. And I was like, cool, dope. I'm an engineer, don't care. And as it turns out, this has been kind of the feeding ground, if you will, of like my creativity blossoming.
What about you?
Well, I found out I was into painting when we moved here in '94. While my husband would go off to work, he told me I needed a hobby. And back then they had hobby stores. And I found these masks, and then I painted them, and then I started selling them and doing Juneteenth.
So what is life about for you? What do you find the most gratifying in your life right now?
Right now, the most gratifying thing that I find in my life is I'm retired. My kids are, they scattered across the country. So I get to go see them when I want to, and I can stay as long as I want. And I can just go on trips whenever. So that's the most gratifying thing that I'm dealing with right now is loving life.
Right now, I think what life is about for me is self-exploration. As you all know, like being a mom or just being in relationships in general, and as women, we tend to focus on everybody else except for ourselves. And this is the first time in a long, very, very long time that I've been able to focus on myself. I'm not very stressed out or, like all the things with being in a city and just trying to have the, day-to-day things, trying to make sure all those things go the way you want them to go. Right. Here's about releasing that control and knowing who I am. So.
Okay. So what values or ideas or traditions would you like to see preserved? And which ones are you happy to see us shifting out of?
It would be nice to have more focus on family. And I know that sounds kind of like a blanket thing, but I think because we are focused on self in more of a selfish way, not in a positive way, I feel like that would alleviate a lot of pressure. If we could focus on it and preserve it, find a way to preserve it, I think we would have more solidarity in our community. Places like this, is what we need to kind of feed those families and feed those values. So that's what I think. What about you?
And I agree with you because I do genealogy, and family is a big thing that I'm into as well. So I would love to see us focus more on family gatherings, knowing who our relatives are. And as families, as African Americans, we do need to stick together.
What is bringing you joy lately?
Again, retirement.
Touche.
I started working in the law firm in the accounting department, and then I moved up to being a legal secretary. I've always worked. I've worked from when I was 16. It's time to enjoy life.
Indeed. What's bringing me joy lately? Like I said before, self-exploration, because when I first got out here not knowing anybody, I didn't have anywhere to go. When you've come from, you're always around people, always, whether it's family, friends, church, work, whatever, it does change the way you process, people, places and things, essentially. True. So bringing me joy right now is just self-exploration and just learning more about myself and how I truly function.
What piece of advice would you give someone who is thinking of moving here?
I would say try to Ask more questions. If you are a homebody or a person that spends a lot of time with your family, ask more questions. I think that'll give anybody, if armed with enough information, give you some comfort level, when you're moving to a place where you've never been before, i.e. Tucson, where the culture is very different from DC. So,
and you're right. I would also suggest that people do their homework and Google what Tucson is about, what the crime rate is like, what is the school districts like.
What does Blackness mean to you? And then what has shaped your Blackness?
Well, what Blackness means to me, I was born Black, I'm still Black, I'll always be Black. Well, what shaped my Blackness, I grew up in a Black neighborhood in Nashville. And that's all I knew until I moved to LA.
One of my biggest gripes, if you will, growing up is that I wanted to go to an all-white university. I used to tell, the running joke for me was, I'm Black, my family's Black, I go to all Black schools, all Black church, it's Black, everything's Black. Why can't I experience something else? Because my Blackness, I didn't identify with my Blackness in a way that, like my sister used to do, sit-ins and rallies, and I'm like, I'll write a letter. My Blackness just came out of just being Black, in Black neighborhoods. And then once I decided to move outside of that, is when I really started to embrace my Blackness. That's when I started to become more bold and to speak up more for myself, because I noticed that when you don't rest truly in your Blackness and who you are, people will take advantage of that.
Do you have access to the Black community here in Tucson and culture? And if so, where?
I'm still really new to the area, and so I've been plugged in with some people here and there. I'm still kind of learning and trying to find my way around the Black community in Tucson. So I'm kind of excited to see that happen.
Yes, because when I first moved here, it was not a lot of us. I mean, I used to have to flag them down off the street like, hey, what's your name? Where you live? Don't you need a Black friend? But it has changed a bit since then. So lately, what I've been doing is I've been joining different organizations, the African American Retirees of Tucson, the NAACP. Then I helped found the African American Democratic Caucus. Just with those three organizations, it really has brought a lot of new faces and people into my life. I really enjoy my people, and I don't feel whole if I'm not around my people. My home is even decorated in African American culture stuff,
And what groups or spaces and activities do you feel a sense of belonging?
Our people.
Right.
And so what about you?
I'm drawn to freedom. I have lived in such a restricted world. Even growing up, like we weren't allowed to wear our natural hair growing up. But I think it's because of my mom's experience with being Black, because she's darker than I am. So her experiences, with the world and being Black, a Black woman, was very different than mine. Me being fairer skinned, not fair skinned, but fairer. And so I'm always drawn to freedom.
Tell us about a particularly challenging experience you've had as a Black Tucsonan, and how did you navigate that challenge?
Trying not to stand out as much. I know that there's energy that I give off, and what tends to happen is, depending on where I'm going, I tend to stand out for one reason or another, and it does draw different types of energies in my particular direction, which makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to offend, but I want it to be known like these are my boundaries,
One of mine, when I first came here, dealing with, some racism when I got here. And there's a particular restaurant, I'm not going to call a name, that I tried to go to about 3 times, and they refused to wait on me and my grandkids. It was racism, but it wasn't sudden. It was kind of undercover.
Passive-aggressive.
Oh, yeah. But those were my challenges, and how I navigated, against the particular restaurant is I stopped going to it, and I haven't been back.
What changes would you like to see in Tucson?
I would like to see Tucson have a train that goes from Tucson to Phoenix.
That would be great, actually.
They've been talking about that since I moved here. And also, I would like to see a freeway, not a road, but a freeway that goes east to west.
Yeah.
You know, we do need east and west freeway, and we could use a train going from here to Phoenix. So what do you love or dislike about Tucson?
I would say one thing that I don't like is that there aren't a lot of lights in the neighborhoods. I would like to have street lights. I think that's a very simple ask.
The reason they don't have that many street lights, from what I was told when we moved here, was that there's a lot of people that do stargazing. And so the light interrupts them from doing their stargazing. And let me see, what do I love and dislike about Tucson? Lately, the last few summers, it has been getting a little hotter and hotter, and that could have something to do with climate change. That a lot of people don't think is a believable thing. Where do you see yourself at the age of your storytelling partner?
Okay, so my hope and my goal when I get older is to be able to look back and speak on history, you know, as you're speaking about it. You know, right now I have very limited knowledge of Tucson.
You'll get there.
Yeah, that's where I hope to see myself.
So when I was your age, well, that was around the time I was party central. I partied a lot. I mean, a lot. But even, you know, when my daughter moved to Colorado, I told her, okay, when I come to visit, I'm not coming as Mama Connie, I'm coming as girlfriend Connie. And I shouldn't have never ever did that, because girlfriend Connie got wore out. She wore me out. And, you know, back then I used to stay out and party all night long. Now, no, 11 o'clock that's my time limit at this point in time.
What do you appreciate about, you know, me or yourself or yourself?
Well, I appreciate your honesty, your charm. and you seem like you're really, could be a really fun person to hang out with.
I am.
What do I appreciate about myself? I appreciate myself that I stay positive. I'm pretty energetic. I like to do things. So that's why I join different organizations to get out and do things and to be around people, because I get my energy and I feed off of other people, and I like to bring other people happiness. You know, I like to see people smile.
I was very much like that before I came here. I was involved in everything, very type A. Very extroverted, you know, and what I'm appreciating now is I'm learning to love myself by myself. And I appreciate your candor. I appreciate the fact that you don't Bible bash, if you will, which is what I call back in my day, we did this. And it's like, well, that's great, but that doesn't help me now. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that you come with here are my experiences. I'm open to welcoming you into my world and how I view things. So, yeah.
All right.
It's a wrap.
Thank you. Sounds good.